All right, so what I would be questioning right now, if I were reading this, I would say, I wonder if Antony really means, first off, what he's saying about loving Brutus more than Caesar. I'm just curious. Or is he more afraid that he would be next on the chopping block, so he's saying this? And then I'm also wondering, in my head, I would be like, well, everyone kind of wanted to kill Antony because he is loyal to Caesar. And Brutus was the ones who stopped him. And Brutus is saying, right, that if he comes, I'll explain everything and he'll leave unharmed. I'm wondering if that's really true and how that's going to work. So those would kind of just be questions that I have in my head floating around as I'm reading. Antony's servant gets up. He says, I'll go get him now. And he leaves. Brutus, remember again, he's kind of like really pulling for Antony and like has a high opinion of him. And when everyone else was kind of like, we're going to kill him too, he was like, no. He says, I know he'll be on our side, right? I know he'll side with us. And Cassius says, I hope we can count on him, but I still fear him. And my hunches are usually accurate. So I don't know how Cassius is really going to behave. I'm curious, right? Because Cassius is kind of like, I don't know, almost kind of like I still want to kill him, right? So Antony comes in. Brutus says, but here comes Antony. Welcome, Mark Antony. Antony says, oh, mighty Caesar, do you lie so low? Have all your conquests, glories, triumphs, achievements come to so little? Farewell. Gentlemen, I don't know what you intend to do, who else you intend to kill, who else you consider corrupt. Okay, so this is a very telling line to me as Mark Antony comes in. First off, Brutus welcomes him. And who does Antony address first, Brutus or Caesar? Right? He addresses dead Caesar first and doesn't even say anything to Brutus. And look at how he talks to Caesar. You're lying so low. And he says you had conquests and these glories, right? And he's talking about all of these great things. And it says they come to so little, meaning like he's dead, right? Then he turns around and looks at all the conspirators. And how interesting that he calls them out right away, right? When he was like kind of the second one that they were considering going after. He says, I don't know what you're thinking about doing, and I don't know who else you're going to kill, and I don't know who else you are going to corrupt. I wonder how Cassius is feeling. Let's find out. And Brutus. He says, this is Antony still talking. If it's me, there's no time as good as this hour of Caesar's death. Boom. He drops it right on him. Almost like he knew, right? And no weapon better than your swords, covered with the noblest blood in the world. I ask you, if you have a grudge against me, to kill me now, while your stained hands still reek of blood. I could live 1,000 years and wouldn't be as ready to die as I am now. There's no place I'd rather die than here by Caesar, and no manner of death would please me more than being stabbed by you, the masters of this new era. Mark Antony just came at them, right? He did not hold back. He says, like, that you are basically masters of this new era, as in, like, you're trying to control everything. You have blood all over your swords, right? You could kill me now. Just do it, because he's so distraught by Caesar's death. Brutus says, oh, Antony, don't beg us to kill you. Though we seem bloody and cruel right now, with our bloody hands and this deed we've done, You've only seen our hands and their bloody business. You haven't looked into our hearts. Oh, here's an emotional appeal, right? They are full of pity for Caesar, but a stronger pity for the wrongs committed against Rome drove out our pity for Caesar, as fire drives out fire, and so we killed him. Okay, so he's saying he did it for like the community, right? It's almost like an appeal to ethics. He's saying like, we did this to help Rome, right? For you, our swords have blunt edges. Blunt doesn't cut very much, right? It's not very useful. So he's saying for you, our swords would not hurt you. They're too dull to harm you, Mark Antony. Our arms, which can be strong and cruel, and our hearts filled with brotherly love, embrace you with kind love, good thoughts, and reverence. Cassius says your vote will be as strong as anyone's in the reordering of the government. Brutus says, but just be patient until we've calmed the masses who are besides themselves with fear. Then we'll explain to you why I, who loved Caesar even while I stabbed him, have taken this course of action. Antony says, I don't doubt your wisdom, each of you. Give me your bloody hand. And he shakes hands with the conspirators. And then he goes through, right? And to each person, he shakes their hand and lists their name. Last but not least, yours, good Trebonius. You are all good gentlemen. Alas, what can I say? Now that I've shaken your hands, you'll take me for either a coward or a flatterer. In either case, my credibility stands on slippery ground. It's true that I loved you, Caesar. Nothing could be truer. If your spirit is looking down upon us now, it must hurt you more than even your death to see your Antony making peace, shaking the bloody hands of your enemies in front of your corpse. If I had as many eyes as you have wounds, and they wept as fast as your wounds stream blood, would even that be more becoming than joining your enemies in friendship? Forgive me, Julius. On this very spot you were hunted down like a brave deer, and here you fell, where your hunters are now standing. The spot is marked by your death and stained by your blood. O world, you were the forest to this deer, and this deer, O world, was your deer. Notice the homonyms. Now you lie here, stabbed by many princes. Cassius says, Mark Antony. Antony says, pardon me. Even Caesar's enemies would say the same. From a friend, it's a cool assessment, no more than that. So Cassius got a little uncomfortable, like, hey, what are you saying about us? And Antony says, like, this is what it is, right? Everyone's going to say that, yes, you got this. Cassius says, I don't blame you for praising Caesar like this, but what agreement do you intend to reach with us? Will you be counted as our friend, or should we proceed without depending on you? Antony says, I took your hands in friendship, but indeed I was distracted when I looked down at Caesar. I am friends with you all and love you all, on one condition, that you prove to me that Caesar was dangerous. Brutus says, without that proof, this would have been a savage action. Our reasons are so well considered that even if you, Antony, were Caesar's son, you would be satisfied then. All right, so we're going to stop here.